Welcome into episode 61 of the Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. I'm Patrick Neal with Grayson Mann. As always, we are here talking college football. Not college football, NFL.
If we get drafted, we would be talking about college football. We're talking about the NFL, though.
We are talking about the NFL. That was not a Freudian slip, but
you know, I think
I don't know, some sort
we
of
were talking
slip,
about old memories before this started, and so that used to be our little spiel, is college football. If you haven't checked those episodes out, you can see me in hat and glasses, and we were doing a little celebration, but that's for another time. Today, NFL Week 4. A lot happened.
A lot did happen. So we're going to do studs and duds as we always do. Not always do, but the new thing that we have started to, I guess make our own courtesy of you.
Yes.
However, where do you want to start?
You know, I want to shout out not just a team. I don't want to shout out a team in my first studs category, Patrick.
Okay.
I want to shout out a certain programming. We're going to do the first stud of the week. It's the Toy Story broadcast, baby. That was so much fun. So I have a Falcons fan that's a brother.
Yeah.
And while he's losing his mind, I'm watching these little animated Toy Story players running around, and I couldn't stop laughing.
It's got to be infuriating when you're losing that badly. I mean, they weren't losing that badly, but I have them in my duds category, by the way. So we can talk about that as well. But yeah, when you're losing and you just have to watch, just them animated as toys, which objectively was very cool to see. I don't know how they did it.
It's
how
pretty
they,
impressive.
Transformed them so quickly after the actual play happened, because I had it pulled up on one screen, and then I was also watching the Toy Story one because I wanted to see what it looked like. And it was pretty cool.
It was very good. The one with Trevor Lawrence where it looks like he's shaking his hips the entire time he's running down the field. And he's got this blast coming out of him.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
It was one of those things that I would love, and this is like a critical perspective on alternate broadcasts. I thought that's what Nickelodeon would be like when they did theirs for the playoff. This one went all in, and I appreciate it. This
one was better than the Nickelodeon one, I will say. But it was cool to see Bijan Robinson juke people out as a toy, though.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty sweet. It reminded me of when I was playing with Legos as a kid.
Yeah.
You had the clone troopers. You had Harry Potter.
Yeah.
You had the giant wars.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It brings me back to the wild mind of Grayson Mann at 7 years old when he was getting Lego sets for Christmas.
Dude, I still build Legos occasionally.
Never too old to build Legos. Moral of the story.
But anyways, to the actual football part of this, I was objectively high on Desmond Ridder when he was going into the league, and
that was your running take for the entire of last year.
Yeah, and I might have been wrong about that. He has not been good. He threw two back-to-back interceptions. It was like the SpongeBob meme where he's like, "You want to see me do it again?"
He literally did it that
ran
fast
around
too.
The world. Yeah, it was like I'm sitting on my couch Sunday morning, watch him get picked off, and he's like, "Oh, there it is again."
So that's actually how I was woken up in the morning. I had planned to I was a second-half trooper. I had my alarm set for 11:30. I was trying to get some sleep, maximize the weekend at home, and I hear my brother shouting obscenity that we can't repeat here at Cover 2, presented by Tigervision, but I was woken up thinking something was wrong. Something was wrong. It was the Falcons' offense. It wasn't anything disastrous, but...
Yeah, after a decent first 2 weeks, they've kind of stalled out since. I don't know how you fix this right now. I mean, you could go with Heineke. Maybe, Desmond Ridder has only played 8 games, started 8 games, so he only has half a season under his belt, but you would have liked to have seen a little bit more improvement from him at this point, I think. And this team is it's good enough to where if you have a solid QB, it's a better defense than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. They've got plenty of weapons. Maybe you go out and try and find a QB, you trade for one? I don't know.
There's not really many appealing ones, but this is the thing with the Falcons offense, and I think it's been the case since Desmond Ridder took over. It's a very run-centric offense, and so once you kind of create a one-dimensional aspect to this team, Desmond Ridder is not good enough to be able to overcome being down maybe 10, 14 points, having to throw the ball 31 times. I'm sure there's a stat out there when he wins, he's probably thrown the ball less than like 25 times.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you go get like Malik Willis from Tennessee.
Maybe.
Just run solely the option, don't throw the ball a single time.
Just commit.
During the entire game. Maybe like, honestly, I don't know what Justin Fields' price would be right now. He probably isn't too much of an upgrade, but he's at least an upgrade in the run game. So him plus Bijan would be kind of fun. I don't know. I don't know what you do if you're the Falcons. I feel like, they started 2-0. They're now 2-2. The NFC South is up for grabs, like a lot of people thought it was going to be, because teams aren't great. The Bucs are in the lead right now. Which
how about Baker Mayfield? I talked about in Week 1. He's continuing to play good.
Yeah.
The cycle had a little bit of a truth to it on Monday night against Philly, but 3-1, in control of the division. Baker's playing really well. So I'm still waiting for that if or but moment where it just falls apart. But so far, and that team was pretty good last year. It just was old, injured, falling apart, riding the coattails of Brady's final year. But Tampa Bay, playoff team.
Yeah, like, I don't know. If you're the Falcons, maybe you just wait to draft one next year. But the thing is, this roster is, like, solid already, so.
It's not like they have a window that they're waiting on or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My guess is they probably just finish the season with either Ritter or Heineke, then draft one next year. But you'd like to see them be a little more competitive now, so.
Yeah. Maybe Desmond is going to hear this episode and he's going to turn it around just for you.
Maybe. That would be nice, but as of now, I don't foresee that happening.
Yeah, probably not. But anyways, let's get your first stud, Patrick. Let's get some positivity.
Okay.
Let's pump this up.
Well, I guess we got to talk about the Bills and the Dolphins game. Oof. That was kind of the headline game, besides obviously the Toy Story game.
Yes.
But the Bills, they took it to the Dolphins. A week after the Dolphins score 70, the Bills put up 48 and hold them to 20. So the Bills looked good. There was a lot of I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that connection was on point on Sunday. They looked really, really good together. It seemed like, at least during this game, there was not much animosity between the two.
Doesn't look like it.
Plenty of moments where you see them yelling at each other, but they looked really, really good.
Yeah, and I think for Miami, this was one of those prove-it games, because when you beat Denver like you did, and everyone was really impressed. I'm not going to take away from an NFL team dropping 70, but with the added context that it is Denver, I was waiting to see, okay, do they fall back down to earth and kind of get this wake-up to reality call? And I think they did in Buffalo. I still reiterate, I think we both felt that Buffalo was the better team in that division at the very least. Josh Allen, 21 of 25, very efficient, took care of the football. He's been playing really, really well since that Jets game of just playing turnover-free.
I believe he had a perfect passer rating.
Yeah, I think he's currently the odds-on favorite to be the MVP. I know that's looking way too far ahead, but right now Buffalo's playing really well. I know they lost Tre'Davious White, which is a huge loss for this defense. But if Buffalo can come and play consistently like that on offense, run the ball like they did, I think Latavius Murray, James Cook, Damian Harris was very by committee, and shut down offenses like the Dolphins, they throw a lot at you, and it really tests whether a defense is smart or not. And it sounds like so vanilla and so just general, but they throw the kitchen sink at you and they want you to overreact to one thing that you're throwing at them. So shout out to Buffalo. I think they were the team of the week for sure.
Yeah, their defense played really, really well against the Dolphins offense, which has obviously been fantastic. You had Matt Milano, you had the safeties. Everybody they're kind of shutting down the middle of the field. Tre'Davious White obviously did go down, which is tough to see, especially him. He came back from, I believe it was an ACL tear, right?
Yeah.
Last year, so that's unfortunate to see. However, they may be a little thin at corner now, but I think their defense is fantastic. Coach McDermott,
they're gonna get
as a defensive mind, kind of put his stamp on this game. And yeah, the Bills kind of reminded everybody that, despite their week one where, the Jets happened.
That whole thing.
Yeah. They reminded everybody that they're still a Super Bowl contender. So
they also want you to know that it's not Devon Achane, it's Devon Achane.
Yeah, it's Achane.
If you're a fantasy football guy, he might be a waiver wire pickup that's worth investigating just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's probably picked him up at this point after scoring 5 touchdowns the week before. But
He and this was a game for Tua, and we'll quickly touch on this, but this is one of those games for Tua where I want to see the defense shut down the really easy throws that the offense gives him, where he can just toss it to Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill, and they take it 75 yards in stride for a touchdown. I wanted to see Tua really, I think, evolve as a quarterback, and I'm seeing some of it, but at the same time, I'm seeing the old things that really give me pause when I want to put him in the elite category of QBs. And it may not be fair because Buffalo's defense is the way it is, but looking at Miami, just their schedule, they're going to get Jalen Ramsey back. They have a bounce-back game against a bad Giants team. Then they play the Panthers. Their next test is a primetime game against the Eagles on Sunday night, I believe.
yeah, so that'll be a good game, especially with that Eagles defense. But if we want to shift gears a little bit,
Yes.
you got a give me a dud. Let's go back negative.
All right, this is going to go back negative. I'm going to go with refereeing on Sunday night. It made me so angry with the way that transpired with, and I think also not just refereeing, but I think identity. This is such a weird dud to put in together, but I put out a message on, I think it was Twitter or X for all you Elon fans out there. I thought this was the best game Zach Wilson's played in his entire career, maybe the best you ever get. And you gave up, I believe, 3 third and long scrambles from Patrick Mahomes to end that game, to not give him a chance. I know that I got some pushback because Zach Wilson did have that fumble, but I was like, look, you have 3 opportunities. This is the Jets team, the defense that you're going to have to lean on all season. And it felt like, yeah, there was that mistake with the interception where it looks like the referee threw the flag right as the ball was caught. But I think giving up a 3rd and 23 and a 3rd and 15 scramble can't happen, especially with that solid-led defense. So we can talk about that game too. I'm sure someone would want to put the Swiftie fans in the dud category because I know people are tired of it at this point.
Yeah.
But I just was so upset for Zach because I think this is one of his better games. And it may not happen again.
Yeah, you want to see him replicate it more than once. But, yeah, I mean, he looked good, and there's, I feel like there's a joke circulating around the NFL that all the Taylor Swift fans that have just started watching football now believe that Zach Wilson is better than Patrick Mahomes, which is just hilarious to think about. But, yeah, you want to see him do it more than a week. I don't think that's something that's going to continue necessarily. I mean, it'd be fantastic if it did happen, because then the Jets would have somewhat solved their QB issues. But I just don't think at this point he's the guy that they want to go forward with. I feel like they should continue to be looking at other options. We talked about this last week, but yeah, it's unfortunate whenever games, the refs come in to, everybody's, the refs are a talking point basically.
Yeah.
But I did see one viewpoint where on that hold on the Mahomes scramble, the ref's looking this way, and the way where he's facing the hold that's happening, I don't know if you could really see it, so I'm not too mad about it. Mahomes, very high IQ play to not score there.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people were probably mad about that fantasy-wise or, betting-wise, but...
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but at the end of the day, I liked what I saw from Zach. I hope it's replicated, and hopefully things don't go downhill from here where it's like a big peak and then you have to really find a way to recover. But I think at the end of the day, if you're a Jets fan, you're probably feeling pretty good about the product. But at the same time, it's like, it feels like that was one they really should have had.
Yeah. I'll go a dud. I had more duds this week than studs, personally. But the Giants and Danny Crimes. I heard that instead of Danny Dimes, which I thought was really funny. Yeah, look, I'm not cheering when people are bad, but it's kind of funny that Daniel Jones is, he had another really bad slip up on Monday. And this O-line is just not good. The O-line is terrible, honestly.
The clip of Evan Neal?
Yeah. He blocked. He basically blocked Darren Waller, which led to Daniel Jones getting sacked. The O-line is not good. Daniel Jones has not played well. And it's after you give him a $40 million per year contract, which I did not understand. You know, I thought the franchise tag was a pretty obvious thing to do, especially, you know, he has a career year last year, but it was 1 year of production.
Career for Daniel Jones, too, is throwing for 15 touchdowns. And I know that there's
Exactly.
stats in there, but it felt like Daboll squeezed as much juice as he could out of that Giants offense, especially with Daniel Jones. Saquon had his healthiest year. It felt like this was the prime candidate to pick if there was going to be a team to regress.
Yeah, and, you know, he won Coach of the Year last year, but this is after a year of, you know, them being good, but they look basically like they did when Joe Judge was there, and, you know, when Ben McAdoo was there. Yeah. They don't look like a super great coach team. As we're getting some batteries here for Grayson.
We're intermission.
There we go. But yeah, I'll try and avoid the dead space while you're getting this figured out. But yeah, the weapons have not really panned out as well. I feel like that's what happens when you get 8 of the same type of receiver, just 8 small slot guys. You know, Paris Campbell has not worked out. Darren Waller's not worked out. You know, you got Cole Beasley on the roster. They're not playing Jalen Hyatt at all, who they drafted.
Yeah, that I don't understand very much.
But, yeah, this Giants team does not look great right now. I don't know what you really do, especially if Daniel Jones keeps playing like this, because it's not that you can necessarily get rid of him, because I don't know how many people are going to want to get rid of him. Maybe you trade him to the Falcons. There you go.
There you go. We are interconnecting storylines here today. Much like my microphone earlier, the Giants are currently dead. So
that was good. That was good.
But you know what, Patrick? I feel like we should rip off the Band-Aid, but before we do that, let's talk about Sam Howell. He's my other stud. I know that this Commanders team lost, but I think there's a lot of promise moving forward. Had a 70% completion percentage on the road, 290 yards, 1 single touchdown, no turnovers. After he had that 4 interception game against Buffalo, I feel like most were ready to kind of flip the script on what he was going to be as the Commanders quarterback. But I thought he really consistently kept Washington in this one, where Philly was starting to figure out late offensively. Then Sam Howell had a response. It was more like it was a blow-for-blow type deal. Made a lot of big throws to like guys like Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, those guys. I was a Sam Howell, but I keep flipping on whether I think Sam Howell is going to work or not. But these are one of those games you need to have in your resume, in your pocket, ready to go. I think that the Commanders, there's something happening in the game that I was really questionable on. And I wish that when they scored the touchdown to end the game, they would have gone for 2.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done if I were them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as you continue to prolong the game, the better team normally wins. And objectively, the Commanders are not better than the Eagles, even though they almost beat them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Sam Howell, he's kind of got that Baker Mayfield energy. I know he's kind of gotten compared to him in the past just because, you know, I feel like they're similar sizes. They kind of look alike, honestly.
Yeah. Same like attitude almost, like the moxie that they have.
Yeah, they play somewhat similar. You know, occasionally a little reckless, but sometimes it works out really well for him. Sometimes it doesn't. I feel like the jury's still kind of out on Sam Howell and if he is going to be their QB for the future. But if he wants to be, then this is a good game to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Against a Super Bowl team and defending NFC champs, we're going to continue to hone that in. This Eagles team is really good. And so to be able to go into Philly, where you were at home last week, and you really just, it was a complete disaster, kept having really questionable throws. You come in here, you take care of the football, good things can happen. And you can stay in a game like this. They're 2-2, which is a lot better than I thought they'd probably be through the first 4 games. So there's a lot to love here with this Commanders team.
Yeah, I very much agree with that.
There we go. Now, Patrick, I saw it on your notes earlier.
Yeah.
It's in my duds category too, unfortunately. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. The truth is going to come out in this segment here, folks.
Mac Jones is not the guy. You know, I've kind of waved that flag for a little while.
Oh, you have. And I pushed back a little bit, and probably not as smartly. Because, you know, he had that game against Philadelphia week 1, and I was so ready to be like, we are going to be so good this year. New England's going to be like 10-7. No. Top 5 pick inbound. I'm giving up. I'm throwing in the towel. That was embarrassing. All the emotions are coming out now.
Yeah. Let it all
Did you
out.
see the first throw across his body that got completed to Kendrick Bourne? That's when I knew there was a pick 6 coming because he was going to do it again.
He did it a ton of times, a little too many, honestly. He loved rolling right and throwing back to his left for some reason.
I don't understand it because that's not his game at all. It's sitting in the pocket and making smart decisions. But when you start going off script like he's Patrick Mahomes, I was like, once he tossed that second one out, I was like, all right, this is a pick six.
Yeah, he made Deron Bland look fantastic. So, not great. The Pats' offense has not been great. Christian Gonzalez is now out for the season as well.
Judon looks like he's going to be.
It's not great vibes in New England, in Foxborough, which is unfortunate.
He's had 2 straight games under 60% completion percentage. He's had an average quarterback rating, I think about 56 the last 2 weeks.
Ooh.
So he's sitting at a little under 900 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, 63.7 completion percentage. Started out so promising the first 2 games, and it's just not working out. Another way that's offensive line or things, but I think the excuses at some point got to stop, and I have to face reality that he may not be the guy.
I don't know. What do you plan to do, like with the rest of the season going into? We're already talking about the offseason.
Yeah.
Even though it's week 5.
We are an overreactionary bunch today.
Yeah. I just don't really know what you do because, I don't know. Mac Jones, he got drafted in the first round, which, was always a little bit questionable. Although, I don't really know. He got drafted in the first round. I wasn't the biggest fan. There were those rumors that he was going to go to the 49ers at 3. That would have been even crazier if that happened, knowing what we know now. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that was a pretty big mistake by Belichick.
I mean, we can talk about Belichick, the GM, all we want. There's plenty of evidence that probably shouldn't be the case. But I think when you look at these next couple of games, they have the Saints and the Raiders. I think these next two games that are both very winnable based off of just the roster matchup alone. They have the Saints at home and the Raiders on the road. The Raiders are a mess. We all know what happened with the Raiders last year.
Yeah.
The Saints, Derek Carr's still, I think, pretty hurt, and their offense has struggled to get out of the gate for these first 4 games.
But their defense is very good.
Yes. So I could see that being like another Jets game where it's 13-10 or something, which I think the Patriots probably prefer to play at this point. So if there's 1-5 or 1-4 after the next 5 games, I'd say really you might start thinking about pulling the plug and seeing if you have anything in Zappy at all, even though I don't think.
Get Malik Cunningham in.
Yeah, let's see if that could be fun. Maybe we could get our own Lamar Jackson.
Lose games in style, just like the Cardinals.
Yeah, there we go. We should have gotten Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking fantastic so far. But.
Maybe I'm giving up too quickly, but I've also been holding the line for the Mac Jones Truther Club, and it is falling apart.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We were talking about overreactions. I don't want to overreact, but it's Jover.
No, it's not. It's Jover. I know we talked about this before the start of the show, but Cincinnati's at an interesting crossroads here through 4 games.
Yeah, so the Bengals have started slow the previous 2 years, and they got to the Super Bowl, almost won it in one, and got to the AFC Championship, almost won that in the other. Now, this year just feels different. The offense is not working, and that's because Joe Burrow is injured, and the team that just paid him $250 million is refusing to sit him. I don't know if it's them refusing to sit him or if he wants to play. That I assume that's probably what's happening.
Yeah.
Is that he wants to play, but he does not look the same. He cannot move in the pocket. They have to do everything in shotgun because, again, he can't move. He can't go out and create. And this offense relies pretty much solely on Joe Burrow's ability to move in the pocket, to organize the offense. Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor, I've been critical of him in the past. And games like this, I feel like back up my thought that I don't think they elevate the offense. They don't elevate this team much at all. It's really Burrow. It's him being able, his connection with his receivers, and Lou Anarumo on defense. So, I just don't think at this point they're 1-3. They play the Cardinals this week, who have been a good team, even though they're also 1-3.
They're like a sneaky tough out.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are only favored by 3. Burrow is expected to play. T. Higgins has a broken rib, and he might play, which in a contract year is tough. The offense does not look great. We haven't scored an offensive touchdown in the first 4 games. So
Really?
it may be Jover.
It might be Burrover.
That works too.
Love that the last name works like that, right?
Yeah, well, in this case, I don't. But, I think they should have just sat him to start the year, let him get healthy, especially if the offense was going to look like this. Should have just sat him. I think, they refused to get a good backup QB. Jake Browning is not great.
Not necessarily.
Not great, and he is their current backup. And, yeah, there's like no faith. I don't know. I don't have much faith in anything besides a healthy Joe Burrow right now. And I don't think he's going to be for a while.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase had a pretty eye-opening quote to start the year, and he was saying that Burrow should rest for the first 5 weeks and says, we start slow anyways, we'll take care of it when he gets back at 100%. And this Bengals team has just looked like a zombified version of themselves, not able to do, when you think of the Cincinnati Bengals post, since Joe Burrow's been drafted, you think of explosive plays, the ability to create out of structure, outside the pocket with Burrow's athleticism, which was a sneaky part of his game coming into the NFL. And you get like T. Higgins, who probably is a wide receiver 1 in most NFL squads. It was a really fun offense to watch. And so when you have a quarterback that can't move, it just feels like this has been a very poor mismanagement, and it might cost him not only the division and home playoff game, but it might cost him a spot in the playoffs.
I mean, at this point, like, again, not trying to overreact here, but it's going to be tough to come back, especially in the AFC, and make the playoffs at this point, especially if you lose this week to the Cardinals. I think if you lose this week to the Cardinals, shut Burrow down, and objectively tank, maybe for, Marvin Harrison, or I would love to tank for Brock Bowers. That way we don't have to throw...
Start the new movement.
That way we don't have to throw screens to Drew Sample.
Hey,
I don't know why the
Bengals
Bengals are doing that, but Drew Sample, who is solely a blocking tight end.
Would you like to read his stats for the year?
It's probably like 3 catches for 25 yards or something.
So I have an article from a month ago saying Drew Sample looks to have a versatile role with the Bengals in 2023.
I don't know why Drew Sample stinks.
And in the regular season, he's at a versatile stat line of 2 catches for 6 yards.
Even worse than I thought. I thought I was being pretty low. That's terrible.
They're paying him a whopping $1 million this year, too.
Yeah, I mean, he stinks. Irv Smith, Bengals took a dart shot at him maybe reaching his potential finally. I feel like people have been saying that for 5-6 years now at this point. He's injured, of course, because he's always injured. You have like Mitchell Wilcox, Tanner Hudson. I don't even know if Mitchell Wilcox is on the team right now, but
Let me check for you.
The tight ends are not great. So I would love Brock Bowers personally. Marvin Harrison would work too. Olu Fashanu from Penn State as a tackle prospect. I'm not gonna lie. Been looking at some draft prospects this week.
We are
to make myself feel better.
Me and Patrick and I are not feeling the good energy that usually is associated with the early season. We are miserable here.
Yeah.
Mitchell Wilcox is indeed a Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah.
He, ladies and gentlemen, has 3 catches for 17 yards. So the Cincinnati Bengals tight end room, versatile, dangerous. Need I say more?
No. I mean, there's literally nothing else to say about them.
Nothing else. Let's end on a positive note, and let's look at some games for Week 5 that we're excited about. Let's take a look at the future.
Let's do that.
It's Sunday. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm gonna just start up. It's London, isn't it?
It's
the Jags and the
Part
Bills.
2. Why do the Jaguars play every single game in London?
I think that the NFL just wants them to be the London Jaguars at this point, or the Wembley Jaguars.
I think so.
Am I saying that right?
You're saying it exactly. I mean, don't ask me. I'm not British. But it sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Appreciate it.
yeah, I feel like half their schedule is in London this year and last year. They're playing the Bills. So, is it a Toy Story broadcast again? Do you know?
I don't think so. Hold on. Let me see if Jaguars, Bills, Toy Story. It is unfortunately not.
That stinks.
Terrible. But another one, the Falcons and the Texans.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud is
CJ
a fun
Stroud
watch.
looks really, really good. He's been the best rookie quarterback so far, I think. I mean, him and Anthony Richardson. That's another discussion as well that maybe we talk about next week as we're closing out the show here. But, they've been a lot better than Bryce Young. And, it's early, but have the Panthers made a mistake maybe? But, yeah, that'll be a fun game. This Texans defense is also playing well. I feel like we've had them in our studs category every single week, basically.
Texans are impressing, man.
Yeah. Another one, potentially, is, Cowboys 49ers. I think that's the best game this week.
I think that could be an NFC Championship preview, potentially.
I think the 49ers are honestly at this point, I think, honestly, a tier ahead of the Cowboys. You have, obviously, Trayvon Diggs gets injured, and Micah kind of got hurt last week.
Yeah.
But he still played. Their defense is still good, but I feel like right now the 49ers are clicking in every single way possible. And so I'm excited for that. Brock Purdy, let me read you his stat line. He went 20 of 21 last week.
Jeez.
And had an average depth of target of 8.6, which is the highest ever for someone who I think went 20 of 21, which is
His career quarterback rating is 110.4.
Yeah,
That's
he's
unbelievable.
He's awesome.
Say what you will about the system he's in. He's at least he's making the most of that opportunity.
Yeah, and
Can't fault him for
McCaffrey
that.
is going nuts as well, but he doesn't have to carry the offense like he did in Carolina, so, he's been able to stay healthy. The defense is really, really good. They're getting productive snaps out of guys like Cleveland Farrell, former Clemson Tiger, and Javon Kinlaw as well. And I think right now they should probably be favorites to win the Super Bowl.
I think they're in a tier of their own because we've seen the Chiefs struggle twice in certain situations and teams they're probably better than. And I think Mahomes needs that extra receiver because eventually they're going to find a defense that just shuts Kelsey down. Although that's easier said than done. I want that to be clear. And maybe Taylor Swift being there will change things. I know I have to throw that in there. It feels like I've got a laser being pointed at my shirt being talk about Taylor Swift. But anyways, 49ers for me are their clear favorites. I think that they were going into the year and they've certainly proved that.
I like it. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. We want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank Zach and Connor for producing as always. Any last words?
I just want to say stick around for other shows. We have Extra Point also filming today. Be sure to subscribe to Tigervision and keep up with all the great content that we have on Instagram, YouTube, and much more.
There we go. Have a good one.